Okay, welcome back to Tectonics Cluster Topic 3. This is the second video, Part 2. In this video, we'll be looking at what is disaster risk and loss in terms of what are some of the issues that or losses or consequences that an individual or country may experience as a result of going through a disaster. Okay, generally, we're looking at tectonic hazards, of course. So there are three general areas we'll be looking at. Firstly, the environmental consequences when you have tectonic hazards occur, whether it's landslide, you have volcanic eruptions, you have your pyroclast, or lahars, whatever it is. Okay, the general natural ecosystem around would be hurt badly. Okay, you will definitely suffer biodiversity loss. Humans part of it as well. But in terms of general nature, there's always very serious damage and loss of biodiversity. You may be then thinking that, but nature always comes back, right? Yes, but it may take a while. So, of course, if you look at Earth's geological time scale, then it is nothing. But if you compare it within human life scale, it could take several generations of human beings before your forest regrows to what it used to be, your rivers eventually clear up, and sometimes it may just never happen. Socially, social consequences in terms of human damage and human structures and all. Earthquake and volcanic eruptions cause massive social consequences, right? You have buildings that are lost. In the 2015 Nepalese earthquake, right? Due to the nature of the buildings in the area and the relatively lower SES, social economic status of the country, right, and the lower rate of development, a lot of the people end up becoming homeless. Okay, they're forced into temporary housing, bad sanitation, bad hygiene, right, and then you have a whole range of other diseases that are not directly a result of the earthquake or the volcanic eruption, but their consequential impact that society has to bear. Okay, of course, this is only the physical impact. If you think about it from a longer run, or even from in the perspective of a developed nation, where these are actually things that the governments can actually have ways to resolve rather quickly because they have insurance, they're able to rebuild houses, to rehome people. Then there's a further step away from this, because in terms of if you think back to Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, right? If you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, what are the essential needs that come first? They are your physical needs, okay? Your need for shelter, need for food. But if the government can come in after an eruption or a tectonic hazard has wiped out an area in terms of your buildings and everything, and give these things back to you, will you ever forget the fact that you have a sibling, you have a loved one, you have a neighbor, right? A respected person who who lost his or her life because of the eruption, right? So then there is also the mental layer of impact, which then further needs more help in terms of therapy, in terms of medical care, right? Will life ever be the same if there was a landslide? You were caught in your house. You were rescued, but you had to have an arm amputated off or leg amputated off, right? Would it ever be the same? So then the emotional trauma, the mental anguish, all these are social consequences that are beyond physical needs, physical demands, but very, very real demands and very, very real needs. Okay. I want to set it very clear here. It's not that if you're in a developing country, you're in the LDC, you don't have this kind of social emotional needs. Okay, but you have to understand that in terms of the human mind, right? The processing requirements, you process the physical needs first before you have a chance to process the emotional and mental needs. That's why when you look at Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, right, at the very bottom, the one that is very, very important to everybody is all the physical needs: food, shelter, right, ability to feel safe, before you can think about personal well-being, personal growth, mental stimulation, and all this. Okay, so it's not that they don't need it, but they have larger needs, more important, more day-to-day pertinent needs that need to be settled first. Okay, so if you are like this is, I think, an image from the Nepalese earthquake, right? Your entire village, your entire township is in shambles. what do you want to solve first? Okay, what are your immediate needs that need to be solved first? Okay, shelter, food, water, before you can think about, oh yes, I actually can't find my cousin, I can't find, right? Before you can think about all these social emotional needs. Finally, let's look at economic consequences, right? This tends to be for individuals as well as for larger business owners and even the country itself. So when you're looking at when you have a very large scale tectonic hazards, okay, loss of property, damage to property, becoming homeless, okay, losing all your possessions for a period of time, even though you may have insurance, it may not be able to give you enough for you to return to the state pre-disaster. So what happens is, not only does the individual feel the hurt, sometimes companies insurance may not cover as well. So companies may fold, then individuals may lose their job. Countries may have to deal with a lot more of this, and countries, although they tend to have insurance as well. If you're in a country in a zone that is prone to such natural disasters, it still has an impact. Okay, when you have to put more money aside for looking after your people to bring them out of the disaster, right? So these are all things that are economic consequences. Okay, so it's not only individual, the government as well, and also more importantly, the government is in charge of infrastructure, right? So things like roads that have been destroyed, things like schools, things like your water recycling plant, your sewage systems, right? All these things cost money to rebuild. Okay, and many times it's not that it's if it doesn't collapse doesn't mean they can continue using it. Okay, very important. In terms of an earthquake, right? Post earthquake, if the building is standing, it doesn't mean you can use it. Okay, sometimes it is standing for now. It is not exactly in a very steady or secure state. It may be not safe for further use. So eventually, you need to spend money to tear it down, and then to further spend more money to rebuild the thing. Okay, so as we were talking about schools, healthcare facilities, these are all social services that are essential in many countries, actually in all countries. And who is in charge of building this? The government. So in the aftermath of an natural disaster like this, right, the government is really in a very bad state because they have to, for the next 5-10 years, spend a lot more money on these areas. So when you have all these things happening for the locals, for the people, you will be in a state where your standard of living drop, okay, your income drops, your quality of your home drops. So then you are unable to resume immediately to the pre-disaster level, and therefore you are unable to return to the level of development as quickly as you may like. Okay, even from the very basic level, things like your fishermen, contamination of water sources, they lose their business. Okay, a tsunami attack, they lose their boats, they lose their ability to work at all, and they're not trained. So it will cost the government money to cross train these people so that they can find another job, or to provide replacement equipment for them to continue their job. But in the case of contamination of water sources, even if you give them the equipment, there is no way for them to continue their job. The environment isn't there anymore. The opportunity isn't there anymore. Okay, right? So this part here, once again, is what I talked about earlier, how the government have to spend money on essential services and not on developing further, like they're probably doing pre-disaster. Okay. The example given here on Archie, right, is a very powerful one. It has been a very long while already, much longer, way before you were born, in 2004. This was a very serious one. You've seen a map earlier on in both cluster, tectonics cluster topic 1 and topic 2 on this earthquake and the tsunami, that the impact of the tsunami in the region. Okay. To end off this particular section here, I will need you to watch the video on Aceh, on the impact of Banda Aceh's earthquake and tsunami. And this is a Channel News Asia video. I think it is less than 10 minutes. Oh no, I apologize. It's a very long one. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but I do think you should watch close to 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of it, because it will give you a clear idea of what Banda Aceh looked like in the past, what happened immediately after the tsunami hit how most of the population in many parts of Banda Aceh were completely wiped out. What happened to the people who were left behind, and where exactly they are? Are they now 20 years down the road? It's been 20 years. Okay, now 20 years is a very long time. It's longer than your lifetime on this planet, right? But there is not enough time for the area to fully recover from a very severe tectonic hazard and disaster. Right, so I will end this section here with the Banda Aceh video. Please take some time. You can use the weekends to watch this if you want to. When you are doing, if you're using this content video for revision, be it prelim or or your actual O level revision, you may not need to watch the video if you watched it before. But the picture speaks 1,000 words and the video speaks 1,000,000 words. So it's up to you. Right, so the next video, part 3, we will move on to some of the disaster risk management modes and reasoning behind why we should actually try to do this. Okay, stay alert, think about what we have covered so far in terms of tectonics cluster. Reminder, if it's got to do with humans, right, number one, it has to be logical for it to be widely accepted as action that is actionable. And more importantly, if you're looking at money making, right, in terms of human job, there must be some positive economic sense. Okay, I'll see you in the next video.